My grandmother cooked on a wood stove for 51 years and never owned a thermometer. There was no dial on that stove.
There was no timer in that kitchen. There was a firebox, a flat iron top, and a woman who could stand 4 feet away and tell you how hot it was. I watched her do it from the time I could see over the counter. Picture a January morning up here, dark until 7. The kitchen, the only warm room in the house, and the window running wet. She would come in ahead of everybody, open that firebox, look 1 second, and shut it. Then she would know what the whole day was going to be, what would bake and what would have to wait. And I did not understand one bit of it until I was past 40 and had ruined enough food to start paying attention.
My name is Burl Sizemore, 5th generation on this mountain in eastern Kentucky. I have cooked on that same stove for 30 years since she died.
Now set that down a minute.
She had 9 signs. Number 4 is a sound, and once you have heard it, you will never need a timer for a skillet again.
Number 7 is the one everybody has heard of and almost everybody does wrong, and doing it wrong is how you get burned. And number 9, she could never explain to me. She tried, twice. I only understood it the winter after she was gone, and I will tell you about that at the end. None of these are written down anywhere. Not because they were secret, friend, but because they cannot be written properly. They have to be shown. Hit subscribe. Here's what she looked at first. Number 1, the color of the coals.
Everybody thinks a fire is hot when it is orange and roaring. That is a fire that is still working.
A fire that is ready has burned down past the flame, and the coals sit there gray on the outside with red underneath, breathing. My grandmother would open that firebox door, look 1 second, and shut it. Bright orange with flame means wait. Gray with red under it means go. And white all the way through means you waited too long, and you have got maybe 15 minutes of falling heat left. So cook the thing that needs the least. The one rule on the coals, she never cooked over flame. Flame is uneven and it soots the bottom of everything. She cooked over coals every single time, and if the flame was up, she found something else to do for 10 minutes. Number 2, the flour on the iron. This is the oldest oven test there is, and she used it her whole life. A pinch of flour thrown on the flat top or the oven floor. If it browns slow and even and takes about a minute, that is bread heat. If it browns in 30 seconds, that is biscuit heat, and biscuits want it hot and fast. If it goes black and smokes right off, you have got a hot spot and you need to move whatever you were going to put there. That last one is the part people miss.
She was not testing the oven, she was testing the spot. A wood oven is never one temperature.
It is 4 or 5 temperatures at once, and knowing where they are is most of the job. The one rule on the flour, you throw it and you leave it. The botch on this step is stirring it around to see better. Move it and you are reading the wrong spot, and you have to wait for the iron to come back before you can test again. Number 3, the fat before it smokes. Put your grease in a cold skillet and watch the edge of it. There is a moment where it goes thin and slides like water, and the whole surface of it shivers just once. That shiver is your window. That is when it goes in. If you wait for smoke, you are already past it, and the fat that is smoked has changed on you. It will taste of it, and everything you cook in it will taste of it. That one they replace with a number on a dial. The next one they replace with a bell. Number 4, water on the plate. This is the one I said would replace your timer, and it will. Flick 2 or 3 drops of water onto the flat top from a wet finger. A cold plate takes the water and just sits there wet. A warm plate hisses and the drops go flat and vanish. But a plate that is properly hot does something else entirely. The drops pull up into little balls and run, skittering across the iron like ball bearings before they go.
When they run, it is ready. Every time, it does not care what the weather is or how green your wood was.
The one rule, 2 or 3 drops, not a handful. A handful cools the spot you just tested and you have to start over. Number 5, the turn in the skillet. A skillet does not sound the same the whole way through. Meat goes in and it is loud, a hard, even hiss. That is the water coming out of the surface. Then it quiets. Everybody thinks quiet means something is wrong. Quiet means the water has gone off the bottom face and the browning has started. And about 20 seconds after it quiets, the sound comes back up a little, thinner and drier, more of a crackle than a hiss.
That second sound is your turn.
Not before.
My grandmother turned meat exactly once, ever, and she turned it on that sound.
The one rule on the sound, it does not work through a lid. Cover a skillet and everything you hear from then on is steam, and steam sounds the same at every stage. She cooked open and put the lid on after, never before. Number 6, the knock on the bread. Everybody knows this one, and almost everybody does it wrong. You do not knock the top. The top is crust, and crust sounds hollow the minute it forms, which is long before the middle is cooked. You take it out, you turn it over in a cloth, and you knock the bottom. A dull thud means it is wet in there and it goes back in. A clean hollow knock, like knocking on a door, means it is done all the way through. And it has to come out of the pan to be knocked. In the pan, you are hearing the pan. That is the whole reason so many people think they cannot tell. They have been listening to cast iron and blaming their ears. That one they replace with a bell. The next one they replace with a probe on a wire.
Pattern break, friend. Everything up to here you could learn in an afternoon standing next to somebody.
What is left is the 3 she used the most and talked about the least, and they are the 3 that live in the body instead of the head. I can still see her hands, flat, palm down, held out over that iron like she was warming them and not measuring anything at all. She did it 40 times a day, and I do not believe she knew she was doing it. Number 7, the hand. This is the famous one, and I want to be careful with it because it is also how people get hurt. Palm down, flat, a full hand's width above the iron, not 2 inches, a hand's width. And you count. If you have to pull away before you get to 2, that is searing heat. 3 or 4 is frying heat. 6 or 7 is a slow oven, good for a long pot of beans. And if you can hold it past 10, the stove is going out and you had better feed it. Her count was not seconds. She counted 1 and 2 and slow, the way you would rock a child. Mine's a little faster than hers was, and I have had to allow for it my whole life.
The one rule, and it matters more than the count. You take the hand away the second it stops being comfortable.
Never touch the iron to test it. Not with a finger, not with the back of a knuckle. If you are not sure, you are too close. She told me that the first time she let me do it, and she told me it every single time after. Number 8. The back of the wrist on the oven door. The hand test is for the top. For the oven, she used the back of her wrist, held near the door about where the latch is without touching. The back of the wrist is thin-skinned and it reads heat faster than a palm does, and it is the one part of your hand you are not about to need for anything else. Close for baking, warm for holding, and if she could rest it there for a count of 5, the oven was done working for the day. The one rule on the wrist, near the latch, never near the hinge. The hinge side runs hotter on every wood oven I have ever met, and if you read the hinge, you will pull bread out raw every time and never work out why. And here is the one she could not explain.
I asked her twice. The first time I was maybe 11, and she said it smells like it is going to be ready.
I told her that was not an answer. The second time I was a grown man, and she thought about it a good long while, and then she said, "Burl, it changes." That was all she had. It changes. She would be at the sink with her back to the stove, and she would say, "Get that out," and she would be right. And there was no dial and no bell, and she had not turned around. I did not understand it until the winter after she died. I was baking in that oven alone for the first time, and I was standing at that same sink, and the smell in the room went from raw to sweet, not stronger, different, and my hands were moving toward the oven before I had decided anything. It is not magic, friend. It is the sugars going. It happens at a real temperature, and it happens every time, and your nose has known it your whole life. She just never had a word for it, and neither do I. You do not learn number 9. You get given it after enough loaves. 9 signs. Not one of them written down, and now they are. I want to tell you the honest part. You are not going to remember 9 things. Nobody does. So do one. The next time you heat a pan, before you put anything in it, hold your hand a hand's width over it, palm down, and count. Do not touch it. Just learn what 4 feels like and what 1 feels like. That is it. That is the whole entry ticket, and it is the one I ignored for 30 years because it sounded too simple to matter. She was not a magician, and she was not special, friend. She was somebody who paid attention to the same 9 things for 51 years, until they stopped being tricks and started being how she saw a kitchen.
Tell me down below what your grandmother's stove was and what county she cooked in.
I read every one of these, and the story that shows up most is the one I go deep on next. Your grandmother knew all of this. Somebody just did not get the chance to hand it down to you. It is written in the margin. Now it is written in you.